Hello and welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Please like, subscribe, and share. Hello there. How are you doing there, Chris? Good to see you. How are you doing today? Would you like to start off with a Bible verse, Matthew 18, verse 6? But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, that he were drowned in the depths of the sea. Take heed that you despise not one of these little ones, for I say unto you, that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of their fathers, my Father which is in heaven. It says, Fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged. I'm glad you're doing great. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Read the copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Fair use tips the balance. Nonprofit, educational, personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Sorry about that. Gotta make that bigger. Make sure to put out trigger warning because this. So hopefully a couple of people come in. I'm gonna get my laptop over here. Comments as well. This is a real sicko. The guy today, Stephen Rian Price, age 30, of Washougal, was sentenced for child sex abuse crimes. Please bear with me while I get this pulled up. I hope you have a good Valentine's Day today. I hate my sinuses and everything, everyone. Wait for that to load up. Make sure to have. Right. I was in there passing it on at Facebook. All right. So please bear with me a second. I'm about there. In our studio on my other computer as well. Need to get me another laptop. That other one, I had dropped it and broke it. Split up a little bit. Mute and stop cam on that other one. All right, so let's see. This guy, he is a real sicko. So let me go and get off of that image of him right there. So let me share with y'all. I always like sharing the facts. I don't just talk about it. I give this cyber tip. Here he is right here. Leads to an arrest of accused right here, infant rapist. This was October 17, 2019. Here he is right here. He was arrested in Washougal on charges of child rape and pornography, October 17, 2019. An infant, different infants. In Portland, Oregon, a tip from the app Discord led to the arrest of a 26-year-old man accused of raping infants. Discord, which is an online chat and media distribution service mostly used by online gamers, reportedly uncovered messages and video being shared on one of its channels that detailed the sexual assault of an infant by a man. The Vancouver Police Digital Evidence Cybercrime Unit received the Priority 1 cyber tip on Tuesday, which was back in 2019. Officials said these kind of tips are rare and often mean a child is in immediate danger. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children said it had never seen the videos before, which suggests the abuse took place recently and was being carried out by the person who uploaded them. The IP address reported by Discord led detectives to a home in Washougal where they found 26-year-old Stephen Rian Price and an infant. The infant was taken to a hospital and placed into protective custody. Price was arrested and booked into the Clark County Jail on multiple charges, including 5 counts of child rape, first-degree child molestation, and sexual exploitation of a minor, and possession of and distribution of child pornography. Hey there, good to see you, our bucket list. Glad you're here too. Detectives said they found more information suggesting a second infant was also being raped and used for the production of pornography. They think there are still more victims in the case. The investigation is ongoing. Then here's where the former Washougal, Washington resident sentenced to 15 years in prison for production of images of child sexual abuse. This was Monday, February the 5th, 2024. This is a federal one, y'all. This is at justice.gov. Sentence will run concurrent to a 108-year state sentence for child sexual abuse. In Tacoma, Washington, a 29-year-old former resident of Washougal, Washington, was sentenced today in a U.S. District Court in Tacoma to 15 years in prison for making videos of the rape of 2 infant children, announced U.S. Attorney Tessa M. Gorman. Stephen Rian Price was convicted of at trial of multiple felonies in Clark County Superior Court. Got to make it smaller. Price was sentenced to 108 years in state custody, the settle said. Okay? The seriousness of this offense cannot be overstated. The crime was unspeakably cruel and depraved. No words can describe the horrors of the abuse. The victims will live with this the rest of their life. According to records in the case, Price was residing in a motel in Washougal. In summer 2019, Price used a smartphone to videotape the rape of an infant child. Later that year, Price used the online communication platforms Discord and Skype to share videos depicting the rape of the infant. Also, in the summer of 2019, Price filmed the sexual assault of a second infant, the child uh, of an acquaintance. I wonder if that person knew what he was doing. In October 2019, the day after one of the videos was uploaded, Discord alerted law enforcement and Vancouver police moved quickly to arrest Price. The case was investigated by the Vancouver Police Department Digital Evidence Cybercrimes Unit. The case is being prosecuted by Assistant United States Attorney Zachary Dillon. For contact, please contact, here's a press contact for the U.S. Attorney's Office Communications Director Emily Langley at 206 553 4110 or emily.langley at usdoj.gov. It said it was updated February 5th, 2024. So let's get to the gist of this transpired. Here's the most hideous sex abuse case results in a 100-year prison sentence for Washougal man. This was published March 28, 2023. Like I said, the other sentence that led to 108 was because it went to federal. So that was more added to this. A Washougal man was sentenced to more than 100 years in prison for sex abuse crimes in a case prosecutors and investigators say is the worst they've ever seen. The unusually lengthy sentence came after a jury in February convicted Stephen Rian Price, age 30, of 17 counts of sex abuse for raping two infants, one of whom was his then 10-month-old daughter, and posted recordings of the abuse to the internet. This was the most hideous case I've ever seen, said Laurel Smith, a Clark County senior deputy prosecuting attorney. It was heartbreaking on every level. Smith, who supervises the prosecuting attorney's office sex crimes unit, said she's only seen such long prison sentences and statutory mandated life sentences for aggravated murder. Well, it's about like murder. These kids are never going to be all right. This case was so heinous, Smith said, that she felt physically ill while presenting evidence to jurors. In October 2019, police arrested Price after they received cyber tips about child pornography videos and messages posted on the social media app and website Discord that were connected to the IP address. Y'all, please bear with me. I'm going through a lot right now, so please bear with me. Price later admitted to police that he had sexually assaulted his daughter multiple times and recorded it. Price was living with the girl's mother, Tori Lynn Carter, at a Vancouver motel at the time. Do what? And you know she had to know. Oh gosh. Why wasn't she arrested as well? She had to know. She had to change the girl's diapers. She had to know. Why is she arrested? Oh man. Between 2012 and 2016, Price and Carter's parental rights were terminated for four other children, each of whom was removed from their care before reaching 2 months old. Court documents don't reveal exactly why the children were taken away, but indicate issues with Carter's mental health. Price had not been previously prosecuted for sex abuse. Doesn't mean he didn't do it, though, right? Price's sixth and most recent child with whom Carter was pregnant when police arrested Price, was born with fetal alcohol syndrome, court documents reveal. Poor child. Wow. Poor child. Poor children. Oh. I pray that are with a good family at the moment. 2018, Price and Carter kept the birth of their infant daughter, one of the victims in the case for which Price was just sentenced, a secret so Child Protective Services wouldn't take her away, Price said in a police interview. All of Price and Carter's children now have been adopted by people not related to the birth parents. They live out of state and their names have been changed. Thank you. Thank you. Just as long as you're taking care of them, not harming them. There's been some that adopts and they mistreat the kids. I can only pray that these are good parents to the children. Julie Ballou, a Vancouver police sergeant who heads the department's Internet Crimes Against Children unit, said no one on the Internet Crimes team has ever witnessed the repeated type of abuse Price inflicted on his victims. She said she's never had another case that produced a 100-year sentence. The second victim identified in the case was an infant child of a friend who Price was alone with for at least 15 minutes while the child's mother was outside smoking a cigarette, court documents show. In 2020, while awaiting trial and held on a million bail, Price wrote to the court requesting to be released so he could admit himself to a psychiatric hospital for a few years. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So then he could say that it was craziness. He wanted to deem that he was incompetent. In another letter to the judge, he claimed to have multiple mental illnesses, including bipolar disorder, major depressive disorder, schizophrenia, dissociative identity disorder, post traumatic stress disorder, and anxiety. Price wrote that one of his ultra personalities, an 8-year-old boy named Sebastian, actually committed crimes while he, Price, was blacked out. How does he know? Please check my text. Okay, I need to check it right now. Okay, let me see right quick. I don't really know, but I think it's okay. Yeah, Chris is my Facebook friend too. Did Chris meet our bucket list? An 8-year-old boy named Sebastian actually committed the crimes while he Price was blacked out. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sebastian was the one who confessed to police. Price wrote, because there are some people that come in here and they do badger us, don't they? There's some people that's come in here and threaten me. You know that. I appreciate that. He wrote, I do not feel like I should be punished for something I didn't actually do. You did it. No wonder. No matter what, you did it. You have to take responsibility. You knew what you were doing. He also claimed that as a child he'd been sexually abused by stepbrothers and a babysitter. Okay, if you knew all that, that personality would have been the only one containing it, basically, and you wouldn't have known it. So, excuse me, that showed that you're adequate and able to know. Price was evaluated by a state-provided psychiatrist, which determined he was competent enough for trial. A judge reviewed the report and decided Price understood the charges and was able to assist in his defense, which was led by Vancouver attorney Katie Kaufman. In interviews conducted for the investigation, Price said his mother was addicted to methamphetamine and they lived in homeless shelters at times. He said he was expelled from a Vancouver middle school for punching a teacher's aide, dropped out of high school in the ninth grade, and later got his GED. As an adult, he was frequently unemployed and homeless, probably because of your behavior. Price is also facing federal charges, which we don't went over, so he's been charged with more like 108 years, which was probably more than that at first because he didn't serve some of the years, which would carry a likely sentence of 15 to 20 more years in prison, which was 15. That's what they did. For producing and distributing the child pornography via Discord and Skype, court documents show. What I don't understand is why the federal crime is a lot less time than the just distributed child pornography, and that's of an infant. Sorry, the sentence Judge Jennifer K. Snyder handed down was calculated by the maximum punishment allowed by law, multiplied by each count and victim, resulting in 1,306 months in prison or 108 years. Price will be eligible for parole consideration only after serving the full term, meaning he will die in prison. The only way we can ensure protection of innocent children from Price is to take him out of society. Amen. Amen. Thank you for that. The 17 convictions include 5 counts of first degree rape of a child, 1 count of first degree child molestation, 3 counts of first degree dealing and depictions of a minor engaged in sexually explicit conduct, and 4 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor. Sorry, y'all, I call it for what it is. I don't sugarcoat it. I get in trouble, I get in trouble, but it is exactly what I'm saying what it is. They say it in the news all the time on YouTube, so we should be allowed to say it and hear ourselves. In this case, the defendant was beyond rehabilitation, Smith said. Price's crimes have proved far reaching. In a recent child pornography case, a Boston pharmacist was convicted in a Massachusetts court after an investigation revealed he was in contact with Price and arranged to fly to Washington State to sexually abuse the infant. Oh, and he was a pharmacist. Oh, man. Sorry, I got to take my breath a minute. Whoa. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. No matter if you're rich or you're poor, you're going to find it everywhere. This is so messed up. The Boston pharmacist was going to come. He was going to sell his child to the pharmacist for pleasuring the Boston pharmacist. And offshoots of the crime will continue to grow even with Price in prison. So there's going to be other people standing up. People in other jurisdictions already have been found in possession of the videos Price posted. Whoa! Get them too! Nail them to the wall! Get them! Get them! Once something is on the internet, There's no way to fully delete it, so it spreads, she told the Oregon Live. The hardest part of it was that these kids were so young. In a perfect world, we want to hope that they could not know this ever happened. They could forget about it. It's more than just forgetting about it. They're going to have all these physical reactions in their bodies. They might not be able to have kids. They might have been scarred for life by what was done to them. They're not going to be able to forget it. Well, I did forget the things that happened to me, the essay, but I'm having to face the repercussions from when I was an infant and on up, where being sold for 2 years old. So, there were probably other things that were done to me before I remembered the thing that happened at age 2. But I already knew that I was already groomed to already lay there when I remembered that first sexual act that was done to me. Well, it had to be done to me prior. But victims must be notified of future cases and they have a right to restitution, Smith said. The children all over the world who are victims of internet crimes will get letters for the rest of their life every time someone is found with that content. You know how that's going to really scar them for life? Knowing someone else? But you know what? I'd rather get a letter when because of the child pornography that they did to me. I'd rather them let me know who's got this information on me, who's got these stupid videos, who's got these tapes. Did they confiscate them all? Which I doubt they did. Confiscated them all. But I still got a right to know who's in possession of all those pornography things that they had forced me into, that my daddy had sold me to. So then there's Savannah Edens. That was her and her number and all that. So then we go to this, and this is the United States plaintiff versus Stephen Ryan Price. This is where the matter before court on pro the defendant Stephen Price's motion to withdraw his guilty plea. So he wanted to withdraw his guilty plea. He had said a guilty plea, right? And then he actually wanted to come and redact it. On September the 10th, 2020, the government sent a letter to Price's federal and state attorneys stating, sorry, it intended to pursue federal criminal charges against Price for 2 counts of production of child pornography in violation of the Title 18 United States Code Section 2251 for conduct committed by Mr. Price involving MV1 and MV2, docket 59 1 at 2. The government stated that it is willing to enter into a global resolution with Mr. Price, which would involve guilty pleas by Mr. Price in the Clark County and federal matters with the recommendation that the sentences imposed run concurrently. This letter does not indicate what sentence the government would recommend, but it states that the state would recommend a sentence of 318 months. This letter states that pursuant to a global plea agreement, the guilty pleas in the Clark County matters would be to the amended charge of 2 counts of rape of a child in the first degree, 1 count of child molestation in the first degree, and 1 count of dealing in the depictions of minors engaged in sexually explicit conduct in the first degree. Docket 59-1 at 23. It further states that Clark County agrees to dismiss all remaining counts and not to pursue an exceptional sentence based on the existence of multiple aggravated circumstances. On September the 30th, 2021, Price pled guilty to 20 counts of production of child pornography and in violation. Oh man, so there's over 20 times he video recorded him doing these things to the children. His plea agreement provides that he entered into it freely and voluntarily. So the defendant agrees the defendant has entered into this plea agreement freely and voluntarily, and that no threats or promises were made to induce defendant to enter a plea of guilty other than the promises contained in this plea agreement or set forth on the record as a change of plea hearing in this matter. Docket 9 at 14. During his plea hearing, Magistrate Judge J. Richard Quaterra reviewed the plea agreement with Price, including the elements of the charges, the potential penalties, and the rights that Price would waive should he plead guilty. Price testified that he understood the terms of the agreement, that nobody had promised or guaranteed what sentence the court would impose, that he understood that the court is not bound by the parties' sentencing recommendations, and that he had not received any promises other than those in the plea agreement. Price pled guilty to Judge Quaterra found that the plea was entered knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily. Judge Quaterra then entered a report and recommendation stated, after examining the defendant under oath, I determined that the guilty plea was knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily made, and that the offenses charged are supported by an independent basis and fact containing each of the essential elements of such offense or offenses. Docket 12 at page 1. Judge Quaterra recommended that the defendant be adjudicated guilty and have sentence imposed. The court subsequently entered an order accepting the plea of guilty of the defendant to be charged to the charge or charges in the information and adjudging the defendant guilty of such offenses. Like I said, please bear with me. I'm going through a lot right now. So, according to the government, Price was subsequently returned to state custody, refused to plead guilty to the state charges, and proceeded to trial on those charges in Clark County Superior Court. Docket 59 at 3. A jury found Price guilty of 17 felony offenses. Docket 59-2 at 2 and 3. On March 24, 2023, that court sentenced Price to 1,306 months of imprisonment at night. These include 4 counts of rape of a child in the first degree, domestic violence. Ooh, so he actually domestic violence. Is that domestic violence towards the child also, or is it towards the person he was with? I guess because it's got a comma right here, I would think that it was along with this one too. 1 count of rape of a child in the first degree. 1 count of child molestation in the first degree. Domestic violence. 3 counts of dealing in depictions of a minor engaged in sexually explicit conduct in the first degree. 3 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor. Domestic violence. So it means he was hitting her and beating her probably too. 4 counts of possession of depictions of a minor engaged in sexually explicit conduct in the first degree. Yeah, for sure. Hey there, good to see you. I'm glad your friend turned up. Tell your friend hello if he's still there. Price moves to withdraw his guilty plea in this court based on the fact that when he pled guilty, the writ the court signed said that he was to be sent back to state the same day. Docket 55 at 1. According to Price, he was instead transported to the Federal Detention Center. He didn't want to pay for his federal crime there. He did not want to have to pay. He thought he was going to get a slap on the wrist. He did not expect to get charged this much because a lot of times a lot of people get away with just a slap on the wrist for this behavior. SeaTac and left there for 1.5 months. The Price asserts that he only pled guilty to take care of his state case first. Still pled guilty, man. The government opposes Price's motion, docket 59. It asserts that Price fails to satisfy his burden of establishing a fair and just reason that permits him to withdraw his guilty plea under federal rule of criminal procedure. It asserts that Price's two reasons for wanting to withdraw his guilty plea first, that he was not transported to state custody quickly enough to address the state charges, and second, that he pled guilty only so he could address the state charges first, do not constitute fair and just reasons for doing so. The government contends that the speed of defendant's transport has no impact whatsoever on his plea, nor is there any showing that a delay even existed, let alone that it caused any prejudice. It also contends that there was no need to plead to the federal charges to address the state charges, and that even if there was, that is not a fair and just reason to withdraw his guilty plea. The government asserts the record indicates that Price wishes to withdraw his guilty plea because he is unhappy with the lengthy sentence he received on his state charges. Like I said, he's unhappy about the 100 and some years. That is so, according to the government, because Price waited until the date that his sentence was supposed to occur, which was nearly 3 years after he pled guilty, to move to withdraw his guilty plea. See docket 51. Price replies that he is not withdrawing his plea based on the sentencing. Of course, he's not going to say that. Of course, he's going to deny that, right? Docket 65 at 1. He asserts that his motion should be granted because, number one, his mental state at the time of pleading guilty is not what it should be. I have diagnosis for PTSD, mild major depressive disorder, and bipolar. Two, he was lied to by multiple lawyers in the courts when the writ on September 30th, 2019 was given. Being held at FTC's SeaTac prevented me from completing my state case sooner. Price also asserts that his mental health being what it is, he felt pressured into pleading guilty. He never wanted to plead guilty. His plan from the start was to go to trial. But man, it's already on there. You got the records of the videotapes. You got the recordings. You're guilty, dude. You got the recordings. You sold them. You tried to sell the guy to one of the little girls to a Boston pharmacist, which he was going to come down and rape that little girl as well. Under the federal rules of criminal procedure, defendant may withdraw a plea of guilty after the court accepts a plea, but before it imposes a sentence if the defendant can show a fair and just reason for requesting the withdrawal. Although the standard is liberal, it must be consistent with Rule 11's purpose of ensuring some finality at the time pleas are accepted. That's under United States versus Minnesota. But it goes on further down. I'm not going to read all the legal. Accordingly, once a plea is accepted, permitting withdrawal is, as it ought to be, the exception, not an automatic right. Importantly, the burden is on the defendant to show a permissible reason to withdraw the guilty plea. This includes reasons like inadequate Rule 11 plea colloquies, newly discovered evidence, intervening circumstances, or any other reason for withdrawing the plea that did not exist when the defendant entered his plea. A change of heart, even a good faith change of heart, is not a fair and just reason that entitled a defendant to withdraw his plea, even where the government incurs no prejudice. The decision to allow withdrawal of a plea is solely within the discretion of the district court. That's United States versus Nostratus on that. Price does not challenge the adequacy of the Rule 11 hearing, and in any event, the court concludes that this hearing was adequate. A review of the transcript of this hearing reveals that Price entered into the agreement knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily. He provides no facts in any sworn statements or in his briefing that undermines this conclusion. His only factual assertions are one, that he's been diagnosed with PTSD, mild major depressive disorder, and bipolar, docket 65 1. That because of his mental health, he felt pressured into pleading guilty. That he pled guilty to take care of his state case first, which they ended up having that information. No, he's not going to make it through his prison sentence. No. They got the fact. They found him at Discord. That's where he was sharing his videos. He also does not support either of these factual assertions with medical records or any other evidence. Moreover, the third factual assertion does not bear on whether Price entered his guilty plea knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily, and it does not otherwise amount to a fair and just reason supporting the withdrawal of the plea. Nor could Price show that he is no longer bound by the plea agreement because he proceeded to trial on the state charges. Although the government's briefing refers to the plea agreement between itself and Price as a global plea deal, docket 59 at 3, the record indicates otherwise. The government's plea agreement states that the United States and defendant acknowledge that these terms constitute the entire plea agreement between the parties except as may be set forth on the record at the change of plea hearing in this matter, docket 9 and 15. Nothing in this plea agreement provides that its terms are contingent upon Price pleading guilty to the state charges. Parties also did not make any additional agreements during the plea hearing. Now, what he was trying to stop, he did not want more time given to him by the federal level. He, and it was bad enough that, this is, he did not want to get all this extra time. He thought he was just going to get a slap on the wrist like a lot of them do. But even if this plea agreement required Price to plead guilty to the state charges, Price is not entitled to withdraw his guilty plea simply because he proceeded to trial on the state charges. The plea agreement between Price and the government states that defendant agrees that if defendant breaches this plea agreement, the United States may withdraw from this plea agreement and the defendant may be prosecuted for all offenses for which the United States has evidence. Why not just go ahead and go with that? Go ahead and drop it. Yeah, drop that agreement. Go ahead and do it. Let's do it. Let's get him on every one of the charges that he did. Let's just see how many years he would have racked up there, right, y'all? Look at 9 at 12, emphasis added. The plea agreement does not contain any term permitting Price to withdraw from it upon his own breach of the agreement. See generally docket 9. In sum, Price fails to satisfy his burden of showing a fair and just reason warranting the withdrawal of his guilty plea. Therefore, it is hereby ordered that Price's motion to withdraw his guilty plea, docket 55, is denied. Thank you so much. I am so grateful for that. Yes. You do the crime, you do the time. That's right. And then poor children. And I can't help but wonder why was the mother not prosecuted as well? Is it because she's got the mental health evaluation? I don't really know. But like they said, what? How many children was that? The sixth one, and that other lady. She had to know about. Why would she even leave her infant in there with him? She probably knew about it. Smoking a cigarette. She probably just said, "Well, I was just out there smoking a cigarette while he did this." Can't blame me. But I bet you she was doing that for money for herself as well. Like, I could get your kids some money, pay for these habits that they got, the drugs and all. It's crazy. Why were these two mothers not prosecuted? And these other children that were taken away that I hope and pray, I know that they've been adopted, so I hope that and pray that their new parents are treated them with a just, like a child should be treated. Hope and pray that they were not messed with as well, as he is the father of these other kids that were taken away before they were 2 months old. Y'all, please keep the children in your prayer, and if y'all see something, please say something. We got to stand up for our kids. We cannot afford to remain silent. I want to thank y'all so much for coming. I appreciate every one of y'all. I hope that y'all have a wonderful Valentine's Day. Yes, prayer for the children. Exactly. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. And I just felt like this needed to get out there. I saw this and I'm like, oh no. The work's got to go on whether or not it's a holiday or not. Because all while this is a holiday, there's still children being sexually abused right now, today. All these people celebrating love, and there are a lot of people say, I don't want to think about that today. You think the children want to think about that today? Do you think the children want to be feeling all that they're feeling today? You're quite welcome. So stop thinking just about yourself on this day. Think about the children that's going through all this that they're going through. Thank you so much. Say God bless each and every one of y'all. And I'll be doing a live in a couple of days. On my blog talk radio, I would be interviewing Sparky Lee Friday night at 6 Central, 4 PST. Talk to you soon. Lots of love, y'all. Be hyper vigilant. We won't let them silence us, will we? God bless. Okay, I will. God bless.